Well, welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure this morning to introduce Michael Stretton, the recently appointed captain of the club. Michael, welcome to the 1860 Club.
Thanks, Lee. Great to be here and have a chat.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your cricketing background. You come from Sydney, were associated with the Parramatta Cricket Club. How did it all start at Parramatta, Michael?
Okay. Really going back to memory now. I think it started, I think I was 6, in a little suburb called Greystanes. They have like the Milo programs up there. And having grown up, my grandfather was really, really a cricket tragic, and my dad played a little bit of cricket as well. And so naturally born into front yard cricket and having a bat and a ball in my hands, as well as rugby league, football, soccer ball, and golf ball, golf club, any other sport. But cricket was one that I very much enjoyed. So I think when I was old enough, I'm sure it was about 6 or 7, I was trying to get down to like the Milo night cricket, I think it might have been, and eventually ended up signing up with one of the junior clubs to play. It was under 10s was the first age group that we could start. So I think I might have been 6 or 7 playing in the under 10s age group for Wani Waratahs to start, and then moved over to Greystanes, which was my local club and where a lot of my friends played their cricket, and sort of played there through all my juniors up until I was about 15, really, to be honest. And that's like the Parramatta local catchment area. And that sort of fed into like your junior association sides and then sort of other teams that you sort of move on from in there. So that was when it all started a long time ago, when at that time I remember wearing shorts, to be honest, I think for my first game of cricket, and borrowing, it's quite funny, borrowing my now best friend's cricket gear because I didn't have a cricket kit. So I used to go over and borrow his Impala Redback. I still remember the bat. Try and swing it as hard as I could and hope for the best. So that's sort of where and how it all started a long time ago.
Fantastic. And were you always a wicket keeper?
No. I think I started wicket keeping in maybe when I was 11. It was, just being in those sort of age groups. It's really all about participation and doing everything. So I think I might have tried it and done a little bit of it, but I also bowled a bit, loved batting and just sort of loved the game. But I think when I was about 11, I could sort of get my way around catching and I could move around. And I think there might have been an opportunity, for the better word, in the club side to sort of have a go at it a little bit more. And so started doing it a bit more and picked it up, and it was somewhat natural, I'd say. And then I think I probably got picked in the rep side a year later when I was back in my proper age group, and was wicket keeping a little bit more. So I needed to pull back and play my own age group and wicket keep, because again, my now best mate was wicket keeping full time, and he was a bit of a gun. So sort of enjoyed it, got a bit of a itch for it, but then to do it, I had to move back to my proper age group because I was playing upper level. To do it full time and do it ongoing and sort of do it in the association team. And so I probably was when I was around 11, I think, that I started doing it more week in, week out. And before that, it was just a bit more sporadic, sort of when I could, if I could.
You worked your way through the juniors and found your way to Parramatta, and eventually played in the ones in Parramatta in New South Wales Premier Cricket.
Correct. So through the association cricket and all the junior sort of academy programs and stuff like that, sort of worked through. And then I think I played my last year in juniors at sort of 15, and then went to Premier, or grade cricket as we sort of used to call it in Sydney, and played the year up there from 16, playing Premier cricket, and then moved into the first, I think when I was 18 maybe. Got my first crack at it, and then got dropped after my first game. Top scored, kept well, got dropped because of it was actually our captain's testimonial, and it was a bit of a bit of an event, really, to be honest, because he's a bit of a club legend, and his name's Greg Davidson. Actually, he's the really tall umpire in the Big Bash. You might notice him this year, but yeah, it was a really big deal, and just the way the club was sort of preparing the last day, and unfortunately, I just didn't fit into the mix for that side. But from then on, sort of was playing first grade at Parramatta, and until I moved over to Bankstown a few years later. So, yeah.
Who were some of your influences at Parramatta?
Yeah, quite a few. One of the biggest influences at Parramatta would be, probably come back to my best mate's dad. His name's Alan Turrell, and my best mate's Adam Turrell. But Alan was someone who, when I was developing, I would get some cricket coaching and stuff like that with a guy named Bill Madden, and did a lot of work, and he was fantastic. He was just an incredible mentor and really hardened me up when I was a young kid to become a much more hardened cricketer and really hone my skills. And Alan used to work in the coaching sort of facility with Bill, so I'd always be there and always see him and get to know him. And Alan was a wicket keeper, and he holds the record at Parramatta for, I think it's the most catches, maybe the most games, but definitely the most catches as a wicket keeper. And he's a bit of a legend as well around Parramatta as a wicket keeper. So he was around quite a bit, and he was a really good person to sort of lean on and work with, and just get a lot of advice and tips from, as someone who's been a wicket keeper, knows what it's like, knows the pitfalls of when you miss or when you drop a catch when it's someone pretty big, and how to sort of come back and recover from it. And as well as that, he was just a really good person to sort of lean on and have around. As I say, I was just best mates with his son, so he was always someone who was there and available to help, and would always give time to help all of the wicket keepers. If he was there and available, he'd make sure that he'd give you the time you need if you asked for it. Yeah. So he was really good. We had some other really great people around with some older players, but I guess from the wicket keeping front, Alan's probably the one that stands out at Parramatta. Who provide a lot of help and guidance. Had a few other coaches through the years and through the ranks, but he was probably someone who was there quite consistently as I grew up and moved into first grade, I would say.
Fantastic. You had 5 or 6 good years at Parramatta, and then found your way to Bankstown.
Yeah. I was I've had some really enjoyable years at Parramatta. We were a really young club. I think you have the Craig Shield down here. We sort of had the Green Shield. It's sort of a bit of a similar competition, but we had a pretty cool group of players who came through juniors to the Green Shield into the under 21s competition. And we all a lot of us pushed into sort of the first grade team. And so we had a really good group of guys who we were essentially best mates with, and played out cricket with, which was incredible. And we had a lot of fun, and we had a little bit of success. I think I was appointed captain when I was about 21 or 22 at Para. So I took on the leadership reins with a bit of help with a few of the senior guys, and probably spent 3 years there captaining, on the back of a few years, obviously just playing as a batsman keeper. Got ourselves into a couple of finals with a few one-day games and things like that, and sort of really started to challenge. But then I guess on the back of captaining, I was sort of at an age of about 24 or so. I'd sort of been in and amongst some second 11 cricket. I've been in amongst some academy and extended squad stuff, and I was probably getting to the point where if I didn't make it in the next couple of years, that I'd miss the boat completely. And so I sort of told the club that I wanted to pull back from the captaining and it was a selfish decision at the time, but I wanted to take that one last crack and really just focus on my cricket and my wicket keeping, my batting, and make that just my pure focus for a couple of years, have a real crack at making something of cricket if I could, because I wasn't far, but I just wasn't there. And then just through discussions at the back end of the season, and as it panned out, it was the best decision for me to move on from Parramatta. And discussions opened up with Bankstown. I sort of ran into my old State 19s coach, and he was a club coach at Bankstown at the time, and we were having a fairly off the hand conversation, and he was asking where I was at because their wicket keeper was actually retiring at the time, or at the end of the previous season. So they were looking for a wicket keeper. And one conversation led to another, and a few other clubs having a few discussions. But Bankstown, and talking to the coach at the time, it was the best fit. Cricket wise, I would go in. There was a established side, or it was an establishing side, I should say. They'd been through a rebuild, probably chanced their way to the grand final, to be honest. And I think they would acknowledge that as well. They played some good cricket, but they just got their way to the grand final on the back of some good performances. And then they were pushing into a period of probably consolidation and really pushing in to be competitive consistently. And I guess I just jumped in at the right time, really lucky with the timing and with what they were looking for, with what I was looking for. And so I joined Bankstown, which was really exciting. It's a club which, to be frank, I hated. being from Parramatta, Bankstown is a club, if you're not playing for them, you hate them typically. So I didn't like Bankstown, but had a huge amount of respect for them as a club, as a unit, the way they played their cricket, the way they came from, the success they've had. And it was something I just wanted to be a part of, having had a few conversations and where I was at, and joined them and had 5 pretty incredible years, to be honest. Yeah, really, really great time looking back on it.
What was the highlight of that period?
Mm-hmm. Winning the Belvedere comp, that was definitely a highlight. Mm-hmm. I think the first year I was there, we made the grand final. To be honest, we dropped a catch which probably would have won us the game in the end, but Manly got on the back of it and won the comp and got over the top of us. And then the following year we made it again and got over Sydney Cricket Club. And that for me, that was definitely a highlight. Playing great cricket for the period that I did, winning a Belvedere was one of the things you really wanted to do. And to be able to do that and become really good friends with the guys that we played with, that was definitely a highlight and a real cricketing highlight. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'd be remiss to say that we had a pretty incredible record in the one-day competition. The first year we were there, we won the one-day competition and sort of kicked on a bit of a run of unbeaten games. So I think we ended up breaking the record for the most amount of consecutive games won by a one-day side. And I think we got up to about 22 games that was unbeaten. So we went sort of won the comp one year, unbeaten again the next year, won the comp, and then won a few more games the following year. And then we got done in the semi-final on the back of pretty gutsy performance from a few young kids in Sutherland. We were probably a little bit arrogant at that point, having the record we did and probably where we were. We just got a bit too big for our boots and we got stung big time and brought an end to our unbeaten run. So, but that was we played some unbelievable cricket and had the way that we sort of held together as a side through. Yeah, I'm sure it was something like 21 or 22 games unbeaten in one day cricket. It was pretty cool, and it was a very good side. So we played some good cricket and had some success. Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
It is.
Did you bat with Bankstown? Were you?
Sorry, where did I bat?
Yep.
Like I say, when I started, I was trying to really push in, so they opened a spot for me to start at 5. Mm-hmm. They had a pretty solid top order, so I sort of slot in at 5. In my first year, to be honest, I didn't have a great year. On the back of guys peeling out a lot of big runs, so finding opportunities to score runs was a bit scarce and a bit hard, so it was hard to find form, but didn't really find my feet at 5 and sort of then really held in and around 6 and 7 for the rest of my time at Bankstown, and then sort of moved up a little bit in the T20s and sometimes in the one days in like a floating sort of role. Mm-hmm. Tend to play fairly aggressively with the bat, so it was a bit of a sometimes a bit of a floating role if the opportunity was there and we wanted to try and put the opposition under a bit of pressure. Sometimes I might throw the pads on and get the nod a bit earlier, but then typically in our team, sort of play that role of between 20 and the 50th over, or second half of the day in a 2-day game that I could sort of come in with a bit of freedom and just open the game up or consolidate it if we needed to. So
yeah,
it was a fairly aggressive role, which is a bit of the way I typically play.
You bat left hand or right hand?
Right hand. Yeah.
Right hand. Yeah. And favourite shots?
Probably the cover drive, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime, or hitting someone over cover. Anytime you do that, it's always a bit of fun. Bowlers never seem to like it. So, yeah.